Welcome to the TCM Teach podcast, the business podcast designed exclusively for acupuncturists and Chinese medicine herbalists who are ready to build thriving, sustainable businesses. I'm Sabey Smith, a licensed acupuncturist, herbalist, professor, and entrepreneur, and I've spent years helping practitioners like you not only master their clinical skills, but also stand out in today's competitive market. In a world where patients have endless choices, how do you clearly communicate what makes you different? In this episode, we're diving into how to identify your unique value so you can attract the right patients, build trust faster, and grow a practice that reflects who you are. So let's get started. But first, quick little disclaimer, like any good practitioner should do. Please remember, I'm simply a practitioner here to support you on your journey. The information shared in this podcast is intended for educational and learning purposes only. It should not be taken as professional, legal, or financial advice. For guidance specific to your business, please consult with the appropriate licensed professional. Thank you. Okay, everybody. So, why identifying your unique value matters. Couple key points before we get into our discussion today. What I have seen in practices in business from other acupuncturists and identifying the ways patients may treat different practices or practitioners, basically understanding their behaviors. Patients often simply don't understand the difference between acupuncturists. And really take a step back and think about this for a minute, because I have seen this so many times where if someone had a bad experience with one acupuncturist, they write off all of acupuncture. And that is simply a protection mechanism. So I was actually talking about this in a lecture I was giving just last night to one of my classes. We were talking about pain and the act of nociceptors in nociception and how that is actually a protection mechanism for our body to be able to protect ourselves. Well, patient behavior is not any different when they've had a poor experience. They're protecting themselves, very similar to pain mechanisms in our body, how our nociceptors are reacting. So if a patient doesn't understand that there is a difference between acupuncturists, particularly if they have had a bad experience, it makes it that much more important, because one bad apple, we don't want the whole tree to be ruined as a result. So please remember, it is important for you to stand out because it's actually important for the whole profession. It's important for patients, prospective patients, other people to see that there is more to acupuncture than one singular acupuncturist, and that we can do so much more than maybe what common media says we can do. If you look and sound like everyone else, you compete only on price or convenience. Now, there's a few businesses that work really well with this model. If you think about a business like Walmart, Walmart wants to keep their prices as low as possible for the consumer and drive revenue. They get a lot of their revenue from numbers. A business like Costco, they have wholesale pricing. They get a lot of money through memberships and strategic wholesale pricing of certain items, as well as selling their own items. So the thing is, Walmart and Costco, they don't particularly have high margins in what they're selling. However, they have a model that works and is still unique from one another. So people who may go to Walmart or may go to Costco may not necessarily be the same type of consumer behavior as someone who goes to Target, for example. They might be, but generally speaking, people like to follow a particular brand because it's predictable and they know what they're going to get. So it's really important in acupuncture, people want to know what to expect so that they feel safe. And when they feel safe, we know as acupuncturists, their treatment is going to be more effective. They're going to be more accepting of the treatment, and rapport has so much to do with that. Side note. So if patients understand a difference between you and the acupuncturist next door, that could be really beneficial. And that can actually help you and the acupuncturist next door work together rather than constantly feeling like you're in competition trying to do the same thing for the lower price. So simply trying to say defining your unique value actually creates magnetism. It starts to find a crowd for you. Patients choose you for who you are, not just what you do. Because we're unique people. We are different. So trying to say we do the same thing as the acupuncturist next to us is still not true. There's so much diversification in every acupuncturist. And if you can't see that, this is definitely an episode for you where I'm going to highly recommend thinking further and thinking deeper with your business, because not all acupuncture is the same, because no acupuncturist is the same. Even if you had the exact same training, your life experiences put a big plot twist on everything. And that can help you find your crowd. I tell my students this all the time too. If I'm ever lecturing for practice management, I say, you're finding your crowd based on not only your skills, but your life experiences too. That is a specialty, and that is real life experience that other people may not have had, but will help you understand a potential patient deeper as a result. So first off here, what is unique value? As I said, it's not just your degree. It's not just your training. Because every acupuncturist has that degree and has that training. Yes, you may be a little more diverse if you're someone who did herb training versus someone who did not. Okay, in the US, certain states don't even allow that. But if you are an herbalist and acupuncturist, that is one thing that makes you stand out a little differently. But just to say everyone has the same training, not all herb schools are the same, not all acupuncture schools are the same, and you should celebrate that a little more. Because it's about your approach to your patients. It's about your expertise, your life experience. What is your story with TCM? What is your personality like? Maybe you're a practitioner who is very soft-spoken, has a great bedside manner, and makes people feel very safe. Patients who need that will see you more often. Versus sometimes practitioners can be very lively and upbeat and a little more outgoing. And certain types of patients like to see that because that gives them comfort. Sometimes practitioners talk a lot. Sometimes practitioners don't talk at all. Sometimes practitioners speak a different language. These are all different ways that potential patients find comfort, and that's how you create rapport. So these are all things that can be unique value to you. I'm not saying you have to give your whole life story, but it could be really cool to share, hey, how did you get into TCM in the first place? And when you create that story, speak to the audience you want to work with. Okay. So with that said, remember, it's not just your degree, it's you. People buy into you and your degree, not just your degree, but you have to be able to show them that and why you are the person for them to work with. A big common mistake is generic messaging. Saying something along the lines like, I treat pain, stress, and fertility. A lot of people say that. There's actually been times I ran little business audits on practitioners' websites. I like to see people who are in my area or in an area if I have a patient who is here for half the year and then they live somewhere else for the other half of the year, trying to find a practitioner for them. And it's really interesting because it's actually somewhat rare for practitioners that I've seen to actually niche a little bit. I'm always someone who marketed towards the sports and herb side of things because I had a really great story to share about that. And that's my background. It's something I'm passionate about. But I absolutely still work on as a general practitioner. However, my marketing is geared towards someone specific. I've seen that more often with women's health and fertility, particularly female practitioners wanting to work with other females who are trying to get pregnant, for example, or work on fertility. That could be really great. Men's fertility, of course, is popular. It's just not as common. It's like, here, have a handful of goji berries every day, and maybe that'll do the trick because of the increased mobility and motility of the sperm count from gochitsa. Anyway, I wrote a paper on it, and I was just like, that's really cool. It's so simple. Anyways, it can be deeper than that, as we know. My point is, generic messaging, you're not setting yourself apart from the person next to you. And so people will then look for the next thing, which is the price. Or sometimes they won't get deep enough. But if you have a story to share that's compelling, that's interesting, that's exciting, and they're like, oh my God, that's me, or I feel like this person would understand me, you're already doing rapport by sharing your story without ever meeting the patient. If they're just reading this on your website, you already started creating a rapport with them. And they could be looking at your website at 1 a.m. while you're sleeping, and you're actually still building rapport as a result of simply sharing your story. So remember that by being specific, you're not losing out. You're actually gaining momentum. Using broad textbook language is not going to be as helpful as personal and patient-focused language. So if you're going to share your story and then focus on the transformation. If you're only focusing on yourself, people may take it the wrong way, call you overconfident or maybe cocky or a know-it-all, and you don't want to come off that way because that would not look good on your patients. And hopefully if you're a practitioner, you have more self-awareness than simply talk at people all the time, obviously. So the consequence of all of this is, if you're being generic, you're going to blend in with the crowd. If you're sticking out way too much and only talking about yourself and kind of puffing your chest out a little bit and saying, hey, check me out, that's a whole nother story. However, that is pretty rare. It's more common. People are trying to blend in with everyone else to say, I can do everything. That's great. We know as acupuncturists, you can do everything, but tell your patients your story. What your life experience may have been, what got you into TCM, why you continue to practice TCM, how is TCM practiced in your daily life? Do you eat, live, breathe, practice TCM? I know I do. I'm so into TCM. It's a family affair now, right? So it's my family is getting acupuncture, TCM nutrition. We're talking about Taoist theory all the time, even if we're out hiking in the woods. We're foraging herbs. Like, it's a family undertaking, and we love it and we appreciate it, and it actually enhances our life. So sharing something like that is a lot more enticing than, I can treat your pain and your anxiety, and I also worked with PCOS and diabetes and low back pain. It's like, okay, we get the point. You're good at what you do. An emotional connection is what people are going to buy into more than accolades. And that is a hard pill to swallow for some people, I know. Because I also have had discussions with students of mine that say, I want to get this certification or this doctorate or this whatever. And I just make them take a step back and I ask, why? Is it for you? Or is it actually out of fear because you think you're not adequate where you're at with your degree? And I always tell them, I say, look, you can dive into TCM so deep for your whole life and still not learn all of it. Being an acupuncturist and practicing herbs, These are lifelong endeavors. Trust me, you don't need another doctorate to do that because it actually might water down your connection to TCM as a result. Not the case for everybody. If you're genuinely interested in something, go for it. But I always challenge people on the surface, hey, don't go get something else out of fear. Work with what you have. Again, here's me talking to you right now, and I'm simply using my voice and sharing notes I have from experience. That's it. Okay. So let's see. If we have different elements that we were to break down a little further, what would the elements be of creating your unique value? So a specialty and niche, which I've touched on already. Pick one. Fertility, athletes or sports med, chronic pain, digestive health, women's health. Yes, we know you can do all those things. What's something you love to work on? What's something you like to dive really deep into? Market to that. If you have a couple things, okay, but don't push it because when the list gets too long, everything gets watered down as a result. Your story. Why did you become a practitioner? Tell us about your own healing journey, maybe. Whatever got you to find TCM, share that. Because that could be the story of the transformation of, I used to be you, and now I found this thing, and I liked it so much, I decided to practice it for the rest of my life. Talk about your approach or your philosophy. Gentle needling, patient empowerment, integration with other modalities or other practitioners. These can be very advantageous depending on how you phrase them for people reading your website or hearing your story or reading a blog or something. Talk about your experience and your background. Former athlete or current athlete, nurse, teacher, researcher, etc. That is a buy-in for an automatic crowd. So, for example, for me, being in sports, I have a strong background as a strength and conditioning coach. I've been a competitive athlete at the international level. I've been a competitive athlete at the national level for 2 different strength sports. Collegiate level, blah, blah, blah. The list goes down. I used to be a school teacher. Now I work as a professor. So automatically, you can start to see where someone like me goes into a certain box for some people. The thing is, if an athlete was the first person to come see me, great. They have family. They have friends who may not fit in that category. So the next question, hey, Dr. Matt, do you work on digestive health for geriatric patients? Actually, yeah, I do. I was trained in that, and here's some of my experience. You can keep it really organic. You don't have to show up with all of your accolades right out front, because if you're talking about them too much, people are going to lose interest. So, and then something that could be really helpful as you get into practice is talking about your results. If you're willing to have patients who are willing to share a testimony, you can, depending on what they allow you to do, you can share their stories, quote them. You can talk about your success rates with a particular type of condition, and you can advertise the transformation that you've created in your clinic as a result. What is it you're trying to do as a practitioner and a business? One thing I want to mention about that too is the business mission might be more broad. You as the practitioner might be more specific. And the beauty of that is when you bring on other practitioners, they can fill in some of the other gaps. So for example, if you're the practitioner who wants to work on athletes, great. If you have a lot of patients who want help with fertility, you can do that. And then if your patient count gets too high, then you can consider hiring another acupuncturist. And what is the mission and vision of your whole business? Well, maybe it's to bring health and wellness to the greater community. Something very simple. So that way, you have the general message of I'm here for health and wellness. That's why I have this company. I myself might work on sports. Hey everyone, because we've been so booked out, we brought on this practitioner. This practitioner is so great at the following. And it's that simple. Because then people can choose, oh, maybe I would fit with this practitioner instead of this practitioner instead. Just different ways you can mold the message without losing patience. From the patient's perspective, a patient might ask you, can you solve my problem? Do I feel safe and understood by you? Okay. Can you solve their problem? Yes or no? You can say it depends. Just explain it. Are you using the same type of language they want to hear? If you're someone who works with folks who might have more of a biomedical understanding or biomedical language, you're going to want to talk TCM in more biomedical terms. If you are more of an esoteric acupuncturist or someone who works more with the energy body, then more common TCM phraseology like qi and yang might actually be more applicable rather than using more biomedical terms. Figure out and translate the language for your patient, and that helps gear your marketing. You know exactly who you're talking to. That's automatically going to make them feel more safe and understood by you because they will feel like you are on the same page as them. Unique value is about speaking to those needs and wants clearly and most of all, confidently. Be clear, be concise, and be confident, and it might surprise you how many people actually come through your door as a result compared to coming off as a generalist. Okay, differentiation strategies. Define your ideal patient avatar. Who is the person you want to serve? If you do this exercise, make it up. If you were to picture somebody, give them a name you don't mentally have an association with. It could be a fake name. Who is your ideal client? Who do you really want to work with? What is their personality like? Where do they hang out? What types of things do they buy? What other types of practitioners do they see? And the list goes on and on and on. Who is your ideal patient? Who do you genuinely want to work with? What's going to fill your cup? What types of people are they? Try and harness that into a person. And then that specificity is going to come out in your marketing, in your language, and how you speak about what you do. So that way you can get your script and your messaging down so fast for that person, someone will know right away if you're the practitioner for them. Then, clarify your signature system. How you work with somebody step by step. Well, when I first work with somebody, I like to, maybe you like to go over lab work. Maybe you're more someone who has a longer intake than average. Maybe you work community style and you like to feel the pulse and look at the tongue before you even speak. And that's fine too. Whatever it takes to work in your zone of genius, make that your signature system. This is what I do. What type of acupuncture do you do? 5-element, TCM? Is it Dr. Tan? Whatever it might be, talk about your system. Be excited about it. You do it every day. Package your care. Packaging your care is a big one. What do treatment plans look like? Do you also create things like wellness programs? Do you have memberships? If there is something that shows a commitment to someone, people are more likely to come along for the ride rather than, I'll just try it out once. And then depending how I feel, we'll see. I actually remember back when I used to not have like memberships or packages or anything, where I remember I had this this older patient come in. I think he was in his 80s. And he heard through word of mouth from another patient of mine that acupuncture might help with hearing loss. So they came in and was like, hey, nice to meet you. What are we working on today? He's like, well, I heard that you could potentially help with hearing loss. I said, okay, that's usually a pretty long procedure, like treatment plan. The procedure itself, not so much, but the treatment plan. So I just want to let you know that we're going to have to work together a lot to really start seeing results, because based on age, how long the condition has been, this is going to take some time to really see if we're making any progress. And I'm not going to promise that's going to happen. I'm actually more of a sports medicine person, but I absolutely am trained in how to help you. I just want to make you aware of that before we dive into this further. They said, well, I just kind of wanted to try it once and see how it goes. Okay, it might not happen in one treatment, but I'm still happy to work with you. What do you think happened? The patient couldn't hear any better after that treatment because they had been dealing with hearing loss for so long. But they had a great treatment, they felt relaxed, and they had good rapport with me. But that was it. That was the end of the conversation, end of the practitioner-patient relationship. I didn't have them buy a package. I didn't understand the better marketing tactics and ways for them to buy in further. Had I been able to work on them consistently, say 8 times, 10 times, even if I did not improve their hearing, they would have felt the difference in their well-being in other ways. As we all know, someone comes in for pain, a couple treatments in, they're like, oh yeah, my pain somewhere else on their body is hurting me really bad. Oh, what about what you came in for? Oh yeah, that's all better now. So can you help me with this? And it cracks me up because I've had this happen so many times in clinic. They come in for one thing, it gets better so fast, we're working on something else, to the point they forget to mention, oh yeah, that's actually all better. So that's the beauty of getting someone to commit a little more, is you get more of a chance to show them what TCM can do and how you can help them, because we know it's holistic, it's whole body medicine. And that could be a big adjustment for Westerners, for Western patients in this Western world. So when you package your care, it can give you that opportunity to really make a difference for every person that buys into you. And just be patient and keep pushing your signature. Clarify your system. It's helpful to share your philosophy, and personally, you can share through content, right? So I share so much of my experience in coaching philosophy here on this podcast, for example, being a teacher, being a coach, right? Being a business owner. So you can do that with a practice through things like social media. You could do it on a blog. You could do it, I'm doing on a podcast. You can go give free presentations somewhere in town. You can walk door to door and simply introduce yourself. I actually highly recommend doing that. That can work really well. Just be friendly, be open-minded, and just have conversations with people. The more you're able to do that, the more opportunities and times you get to practice your elevator pitch, essentially. Hey, here's what I do. I'd love to help you. So for me, it was easy to work on athletes, or basically anyone who I might see in a gym, because that's where the conversations always happen. If I hear someone complaining about pain somewhere, I simply walk up to them. I'm like, hey, I didn't mean to eavesdrop. I just overheard that your shoulder is bothering you. I'm a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese herbal medicine. Do you mind if I take a quick look at it? They always say yes. Oh yeah, sure. What did you say you do again? And then maybe I give just a couple easy recommendations, as long as I feel safe to do so. And then it totally blows their mind when something really simple makes them feel so much better. I'll never forget the amount of times I've done that, made people feel better, and then they became patients. or they wanted to learn more. Oh, well, here's where you can learn more. You can come to my clinic, or you can look at this article that I wrote, or something along those lines, just having that conversation further. I particularly remember in the last 6 months, I was in the gym, I was talking to someone, they were talking about their shoulder dysfunction. I said, oh, well, it looks like you have a shoulder dysfunction. It seems like these particular areas of your back are actually not firing properly. Here, try this, this, this. Their bench press went up astronomically, actually. Their shoulder strength came back and they had complete function. And then I learned later that it was dysfunctional and in pain for 4 months, and we got rid of it in a matter of a week, simply by giving simple recommendations. So being a nice person goes a long way. Being a nice person is a form of branding, and it's a way to get your audience. And now I've made friends simply by doing that too, just being a nice person, being in the place where I like to be, doing the things I like to do. Okay, so practical exercises to find your unique value. Ask, what do my patients thank me for most often? Is there a common theme that you can find? Maybe patients might say, thank you so much for listening to me. You're the first practitioner that's listened to me in my journey. Thank you so much for taking the extra time to talk with me. Thank you so much for checking in with me after my first treatment. You made me feel really comfortable. Thank you for listening. That's a big thing in TCM. People just really appreciate being listened to, feeling listened to. But what is it that they thank you for the most? Maybe it goes back to your philosophy. Identify 3 adjectives that describe your style as a practitioner. Compassionate, attentive, obviously holistic. Think of things that describe your needling nature. Gentle, aggressive to find the chi, digging for it, or more superficial. There's so many different ways you can describe yourself as a practitioner and the way you practice as a practitioner. Or maybe it's different based on who you're working with, because a competitive athlete is not going to get the same treatment as a 2-year-old patient that I've had, several actually. Pediatrics is different than athletics. So you can have your philosophy, just make sure you base it on who you're talking to and be excited about it. People thrive on the excitement and the passion because remember, you care more about your business than anyone else does. And you should show that. You should love what you do in TCM. And if you don't, think about why you got into it in the first place. Why do you love it? Why do you still practice it today? And if you say it's just to pay the bills, I challenge you to dig deeper. I'm sure there's a reason that maybe you have just lost your way a little bit. I'm sure there's a reason you put yourself through all that school, all that time, and all that effort. Dig a little deeper. Look at your background. What non-TCM experiences make you different? Okay, so I shared some of my personal experiences where I have done a lot as an athlete, as a coach, as a teacher, and I find this comes back into the clinic in patients. This comes back into my business, coaching and teaching practitioners, speaking, you name it. What makes you unique? There is a conversation I remember I had last year with a student, and we stayed after class for a little bit, and she told me, Dr. Matt, I don't know what makes me unique or different. I don't know. I feel like I need to go do this extra year-long certification so I can really stick out because I want to work with sports. And I said, okay, well, why do you want to work on sports? Well, I just think it would be really fun and it's something I gravitate towards. I seem to do really well at it and I like the conversations I have with people. I said, okay, great. Do you have any sports experience? Well, I used to do cheerleading back in the day. So when we think about something like cheerleading, it's a lot of gymnastics type movements, really putting yourself out there, right? So we can take the elements of the cheerleading, picture what that training was like, picture what it's like to make yourself outgoing and put that into your practice. So you can relate to the patient in two different ways here that we just listed. One, you can be outgoing. You could be the outgoing cheerleader for your clinic. Two, you understand what it's like to go through the training, to go through the pain to get to where you want to go. And the student, right after that conversation, it wasn't a very long conversation, felt like there was another door opened for them. And I said, you're not even done with basic TCM schooling yet. And here we are already making progress towards your goal of sports medicine. If you want to do the certification, do it. Don't do it out of fear or feeling like you're inadequate, because your real life experience actually matters more, because you understand what that pain, what that training is like, what it's like to put yourself out there. You can create a connection deeper than other practitioners who have never lived that life before. So look at your background and what makes you different from other people. That is a relationship point to consider, because you speak the same language as other patients who have had that experience. But you are the person on the other side saying, hey, TCM has helped me in this way. Just be honest. Share your story. You don't have to spill your heart out. Just share. People really appreciate it. Gather patient testimonials and circle recurring themes that you're noticing. If you write this down, when you're looking at all the testimonials that you end up gathering, what are the key themes? Write them down, circle them, whatever you want to do, however your brain works. It could be they fixed me up quickly, or they gave me a take-home treatment as well, or they gave me a wellness plan. Whatever it may be, what are the recurring themes? What's working? What's not working? Go back to the drawing board. What is working? What's not working? Go back to the drawing board. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Okay, so putting it into practice. You can rewrite your website bio with your unique value front and center. Find a happy medium. Do not come off as a generalist. Maybe have a friend read it or someone else read it. Hey, you know me really well. If you were a patient from a third-party perspective, someone just coming across my website or my messaging, is it clear what I work on and who I like to work with? Use your unique value in elevator pitches, in your networking, your workshops, your branding, your business cards, whatever it may be. Use it. Use your signature pitch. And you're not being salesy. You're putting out to the world, hey, here's what I love to work on, and I'm so passionate about it, I can't wait to help you. You're not trying to make a sale. You're trying to do what you love to do. Build your marketing around stories and solutions. Here's a story I had, and you'll notice even in this podcast, I shared some real life stories and then shared the solution, shared the result, shared the outcome. Just like reading case studies. Here was the presentation, here's what we did, here was the outcome. So if you can build your marketing around the stories, get people hooked to listen to your story, to listen to the stories of your patients, that is automatically going to create more of a buy-in to understand what it is you do and how you can help someone, instead of generic acupuncture helping everything. Understand your messaging on your own terms. Then your patients will understand exactly what you do. People coming across you will know exactly what you do. Other practitioners will know exactly what you do. If you're doing generalist marketing, I would challenge you to go further What do you love to work with? And if it's everything, great. I'm sure you have a few favorite conditions you love to work with. And then how do those relate to your personal life? Then where is the most powerful story within that? So please keep in mind, your unique value isn't about being everything to everyone. It's about being unforgettable to the right people. Okay, so those are the end of my notes today. But please note, I've created a resource called the Unique Value Worksheet. So that's a resource available for members, and it correlates with this episode. So make sure you go use it, especially if you're struggling or if you're stuck with, I just like to work on everything. I love acupuncture. Great. Build upon that. Please, I'm sure you can. More specifically, we're going to be diving into a continuation of this in our next episode, where we will dive into the mindset that every practitioner, every TCM practitioner should maintain to run a successful business. So we're going to continue down this mindset path, because this alone is a mindset shift, especially if you're a generalist. How do you shift your mindset into showing more of your uniqueness, showing more of your unique value? So with that said, thanks for joining me today on the TCM Teach podcast. Be well, and until next time, thank you. Xie xie.